Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Simon, bringing you more Myst MTG lore. Yeah, you heard me right, Myst MTG lore. That's because today's video is all about the loose strings left untied in the wake of last week's concluding article of Eldritch Moon. So it kinda came as a surprise to many that Eldritch Moon had its last official article released just a mere week after the set's opening weekend. Not only did it end abruptly to many, but the ending was also unsatisfying. Like for me personally, I enjoyed the ending of Eldritch Moon, but there's still so much left up in the air with its ending. I'm not talking about the ultimate fate of Emrakul or anything like that, I'm speaking more in terms of characters and storylines which seem to have been forgotten. I don't know if in the coming weeks we'll get more clarification on all these topics or not, as we wait for the next story, set on the plane of Kaladesh, to begin. They had to fill this time up with something, and if they don't decide to just set the story up for the next set, they may as well close these loose ends. Regardless of what they choose to do, the closure of Eldritch Moon's lore has left a lot of things unresolved, and I'm gonna list as many as I can in this video. First is a big one for me, the fate of Soren Markov and Olivia Voldaren. When we last saw Soren, he was stuck in a wall thanks to Nahiri, and Olivia basically left him there to become the new Lord of Innistrad. To some, this may have been a satisfying ending, but for me, Soren's such a huge character that you can't simply leave him in a wall until we return to Innistrad block. It's just not fair. And what about Olivia? Is she going to become the de facto leader of vampires on the plane now? She was fighting in Thraben with humans whom she promised to spare until the fighting was done. It's done now, so what happened? I'd really like to know. Next, we have the storyline of Nahiri. After mounting Soren on the wall, she kinda just skedaddled without saying anything about where she was going. A good thing to keep Soren off her tail, but a bad thing for us. The sensible thing is to suggest that she went back to her home of Zendikar, but she still thinks it's destroyed. When in the world will one of the numerous characters out there pull her aside and say, "Look, Zendikar's safe, okay? You basically did all this for nothing." I know it would have probably broken the story, but this is almost as bad. She's basically evil now because of a miscommunication, and that's really lame. We don't know where she's going, what she's thinking, or what she'll do next. It's just an unfinished plot point. And what about the humans fighting in Thraben? This new Order of St. Traft, and their leader Thalia, and their guardian angel, Sigarda. We only saw Sigarda for like a split second helping Thalia with the malformed Priscilla, a far cry from the angelic civil war she alluded to in her first appearance in the story. The humans and this one angel, so much for her flight, were last seen being overrun by the twisted minions of Emrakul before it let out a giant wave of chaotic energy that brought even planeswalkers to their knees. Does this mean Thalia and everyone else in Thraben is dead? I want to know what happens to the Order of St. Traft, with the last sane angel on the plane, not to mention the whole corrupted Church of Avacyn plot point. Please give me some answers. Speaking of the Church of Avacyn, remember in SOI when the story was just starting off with the cultists and demon worshippers praying to an unknown darkness? Are you saying the demon was just Ormondal, the profane prince? If so, why is he never mentioned? Did he ever do battle with Innistrad's heroes? And where the heck is he now? Is he the leader of the Church of Avacyn? What's the deal? Speaking of loose threats, what about the Gitrog monster? Was that thing's story really just contained in a one-off article? If that's the case, then it really feels like filler more so than anything else. Another complaint I have is with some of the more prominent side characters, like the human hunters Hal and Elena. Although never appearing on cards, these two were heavily featured in the opening story of SOI. We saw them again briefly as things started turning bad in Eldritch Moon, but nothing was resolved. They seemed to just be fighting endlessly together for all time. The writers spent time trying to add some character to these figures, at least do them the justice of neatly ending their story one way or another. While they never made it to print, others were printed but never seen in the story, like the first ever Werewolf legendary, Ulrich of the Crawlin Horde. When I saw this card, I thought, sweet, werewolves coming back in the story. Nope, nothing. Eldritch Moon ends without ever mentioning him. There's a part near the end of the lore where Olivia is flying over the Battle of Thraben and she spots two gray-haired werewolves fighting the Eldrazi. Is one of them meant to be this Ulrich guy? If so, that's a pretty lame excuse for the story of the first legendary in this tribe. Speaking of underutilized werewolves, the new planeswalker Arlen Cord seems to have the least amount of spotlight of any other prominent character. I mean seriously, planeswalkers who don't even have cards in this set, like Gideon and Chandra, get more context in this block than her. We see her in like a small origin story, and another where we learn that she wants to unite the packs to fight a new dark threat, which I assume was the Eldrazi. Was that her and Ulrich leading the werewolf charge in Thraben? We have no clue, guys. But honestly, it's a shame that Arlen and the werewolves weren't more important in this final battle against Emrakul. Even the humans and vampires ended up being inconsequential to the ending, which really makes them feel powerless. I know they're not as strong as the planeswalkers at play here, and they certainly couldn't stand up to Emrakul itself, but really, just fighting random minions without even being aware of the overall plan going on? That's actually really low. As it stands, we see almost nothing from Wizards' newest planeswalker, and that's a real shame. And those are just some of the loose ends I'm coming up with off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more, but this video's already kinda ranty as it is. This video's just meant to point out some glaring inconsistencies I found with the SOI and Eldritch Moon stories. Sure, MTG has had some issues with lore in the past, but this time around, I really feel like they fell flat on some of the characters and plot lines that could have really given this whole arc some extra punch. The main line of the story was good, I just wish it was supported better with more diverse characters, backstories, and side plots that actually mattered in the end. Anyway, that was a rant, wasn't it? Let me know what you think about these issues, and if you believe Wizards will address them in stories to come. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, consider throwing it a like, sharing it with a friend, and subbing to the channel. It helps out a great deal. In any case, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.